Well, President Trump is saying that the U.S. has already, in his words, literally destroyed nearly everything on Iran's crucial Karg Island. It's an oil exporting island. The oil infrastructure, though, they have not touched. They say they took out the military installations. Trump is making it clear that he will take more action on the 8-square-mile island off the coast of Iran if needed.
As you know, we attacked Karg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes' notice.
5 minutes notice. Well, back with us at the Magic Wall, our military analyst and retired Colonel Cedric Layton. So, Colonel Layton, when Trump says the United States has literally destroyed most everything on Karg Island, just thinking, I've been on a different island than this, around an island in the Gulf. These are flat sand spits in a sense. So what did Trump hit, given that topography?
So what he hit basically was the airfield right here. And then you have things like SAM emplacements in areas like this, the surface-to-air missiles, and also potentially artillery and other areas like this. So these are the kinds of things that they would go after, and these are the target sets that an island like this would have, because what you're talking about here, Aaron, is an island that handles about 90% of Iran's oil exports. So it's basically a transshipment terminal, and what he's doing here is he's taking out the military aspect of this, and that's why the target set looked like this.
All right. So, and as you're pointing out, not everything. Some of this is just going to be pure oil infrastructure, which they didn't take all of that out. I know that they'll say a lot of that is vital to the IRGC, but also would have civilian use. So what are the biggest targets left? I'm just looking at some of those circles that look like oil storage.
Right, so that's exactly it right here. So what you're looking at here is like this oil tank farm. In this area right here, this is an area where he could absolutely hit that. Then the other thing that you have are these jetties right here. So all the ships that come in, all the tankers that come in, they would use these jetties in order to unload the oil and then take it out of the area into the Persian Gulf from Karg Island all the way down through the Strait of Hormuz and then out to be exported to various other countries.
Okay, so now just looking at this, by the way, I'm just looking at Karg Island and the fact that it's high up. Right, some of these other ones that I was talking about were down here, right? So it's far from the strait, but it's up near where the oil terminals, where they're going to be doing exports from. So Trump has not ruled out, and is obviously there's been a lot of talk about the Marine Expeditionary Unit, right, and whether that would play a role in potential boots on the ground. But he's very much been open to seizing it all together.
Yes.
Okay, what does that look like from every perspective, but also given where it's located all the way up there?
So if, let's say it's the Marine Expeditionary Unit, they would have to come through the Strait of Hormuz or be airlifted into a place like Saudi Arabia or Kuwait and then go after Karg Island. Now, let's take a look at Karg Island. They would come in here. These are the jetties that we talked about earlier, the airfield right here. They would probably do something like move into an area where they could take over the airfield, potentially take over this area because they could use it as a landing craft area for U.S. or Allied landing craft, and they could also potentially move in from this area to come into the beach this way, and then they would basically have a landing field. So kind of think a smaller version of Normandy and D-Day.
That's what it sounds like, because I mean, if you're saying they've destroyed the airfield itself, right? So this would have to be a water approach.
So, and when you look at the airfield, this is exactly what they did here. So they took out headquarters buildings, and they also ended up what we call cratering the runway. So what they did is take out the areas right here so that aircraft, when they taxi, they can't taxi the full extent that they need to take off, and they certainly can't land on a shorter runway like this. So that's what they ended up doing in this particular case, and it was highly effective from a military standpoint.
Right, and I guess so now it's unusable for now, at least for Iran. All right, Colonel Layton, thank you.